Before I get started, I want to give a shout out to all the contributors of my Patreon channel. Your support is necessary, and without you, none of this is possible. And if you'd also like to support the channel directly, Cash App and PayPal are available. Just be sure to let me know in the For section if it's okay for me to thank you publicly, or else I'll assume you'll want to remain anonymous.
And here we go.
What you see is what you see. They putting it everywhere.
Yeah.
I took my grandson to see what was the movie with Buzz Light?
Toy Story?
Not that one, but
the new Buzz. The Lightyear. I think it's called Lightyear.
Yeah, with Keke Palmer's in that movie. So we watching it, and she had a baby with a woman. Well, my grandson in the middle of the movie like, Papa Snoop, how she have a baby with a woman? She a woman. Oh, shit. I didn't come in for this shit. I just came to watch the goddamn movie. Hey, man, watch the movie. They just said she had a baby. They both women's. How did she have a baby? So it's like, it fucked me. I'm scared to go to the movies now. Like, y'all throwing me in the middle of shit that I don't have an answer for. It threw me for a loop. I'm like, what part of the movie was this? These are kids that we have to show that at this age. Like,
that part.
They're going to ask questions.
Yeah.
They are going to ask. I don't have the answer.
Yeah.
The Snoop Dogg fall off in 2025 has got to be fucking studied. This man went from this beloved, almost mascot of America in the 2024 Olympics. I loved it. I love seeing him on my screen. He was bringing this comedy factor into all these different sports that he was announcing and commenting on. It was fantastic. Then his little bitch ass went and performed for Trump. Checkmark, basically an egregious strike. Number one, I would say an immediate 3-strike, you're out, get fucked. But then he took it a step further. Now, this little bitch boy is crying because there's a scene in the Lightyear movie, the Disney Buzz Lightyear movie, where there's two moms, cartoon. There's two moms, and he's crying about it. What am I going to tell my kids? That there's going to be how do the two ladies have a baby?
Uncle Snoop is not my uncle. So right now, Snoop Dogg is getting canceled, right? Snoop Dogg is a legend. He's a legend. He's a West Coast legend. Okay. He's done a lot for hip hop. He's done more in this life than I ever will. He has more money than I'll ever stack. Let's just get that out of the way right now. But basically, right now he's getting canceled for saying something really stupid about gay people on a podcast. He was talking about the movie Lightyear by Pixar, which has like a brief scene of a lesbian couple kissing. Like, it's very tame. Even by like kids movie standards, it's tame. And basically Snoop's reaction to it is like, yo, why are they forcing it on us? Like, yo, I'm scared to go to the movies now. Like how am I supposed to explain this to my kids? And honestly, like, this is an argument that you definitely heard in your life from someone that's homophobic. It's like, oh, like, how do I explain this to my kids? I just felt the need to make this video because of how I found out how Snoop Dogg even existed. The first time that I ever saw Snoop Dogg, he was doing like a red carpet event where he had like two girls like on a dog leash. And I was like 6 years old, like watching this like award show. And I literally had to ask my mom to explain it to me. It's like, why are these two women on a leash like an animal? So I just think it's so funny that people are saying that gay people are constantly putting like perverted stuff on them and exposing their children to it when like people do that with straight stuff all the time too, right? You realize that. And normally, you know, I'd be like, okay, like, you know, Snoop is just old school. Like, you know, he's like from my dad's generation, like, you know, whatever. But then I realized that he's actually a traitor to the black community and just his people in general. Like, Snoop Dogg is a Trump supporter. Like, he is friends with Donald Trump. He's like, you know, performed at his inauguration events. Like, he very much is aligned with Republicans.
And so my question is, Snoop, you have music videos with women dancing and kissing other women, dancing naked. So why is displaying lesbian behavior in your music videos appropriate, and you are afraid to answer the questions from your grandchildren?
So wait a minute, there's an answer to that, which is that the videos that he does for his music videos for adults, they're not Lightyear.
I think he would say that
they're not for kids.
Music videos aren't for kids.
Let's get it. So, Snoop Dogg is in a bit of a trouble. He took his grandson to go see Buzz Lightyear. I'm assuming he's speaking about several years ago. And he wasn't prepared for the film. Now, I had seen the movie. I knew about it. But there were two lesbians that had a kid.
Right.
And for those who don't know, there was also a lesbian kiss, depending on what version of the film that you've seen.
Right.
And he was basically saying that he wasn't prepared for that. As a matter of fact, he was afraid because he didn't know how to answer the questions his grandson had for him. And people are mad. People are mad, especially those in the left and the rainbow community. They're calling him all kind of names, talking about canceling him. And a lot of this is blow over because they now see him as MAGA. Remember, was it last year when Trump had his inauguration or had his celebrations or whatever? Snoop was one of the performers. So they see him as a big Trump supporter, but I don't think that's the case. I think he was just showing up for a gig.
Right.
And you see a lot of straw man arguments. People are saying, well, Snoop is afraid of lesbians. He's afraid of the movies. No, you stupid people. He's talking about the questions that his grandson gave him. He was not prepared for those questions. That's what he's concerned about. He's not afraid of lesbians. He's not afraid of the movies. But I personally, having watched it several times, I don't think he meant any harm. I don't think he was attacking lesbians or the LBGTQIA plus XYZ LMNOP community. He wasn't doing any of that. And so, you know, I think there's a lot of ad hominem attack and straw man attack coming his way. And you hear, you know, and I've heard some excuses about people saying, well,
Snoop, how can you say that? Because you made all these movies and videos in the 90s and you were in the L word and you had lesbians in the videos.
Here's the thing. All of that was adult content. Okay, when Snoop was making his music and he's making his videos and he's making his appearances in these shows, this is for people 18 and above. He's talking about a conversation he's had with a child. It's easy to have a conversation with adults about same-sex relationships, but when a 4-year-old or 5-year-old or 6-year-old asks you that question, that's a problem. Because then you have to explain to them how heterosexuals have children.
Exactly.
And kids at 4 or 5 can't even comprehend that. And then you're gonna throw in the whole same-sex thing? That's what he's you know, frustrated with. And as a note, this Lightyear movie, I think it came out in 2022. So this was the middle of the Disney woke era, from like 2015 to like 2024. And of course, Buzz Lightyear failed, like so many projects during that era that pushed the agenda. And so that's why they've gotten away from it. So he's speaking, from my perspective, the way all Americans feel. And the way that we know that is because Disney lost money and Disney's no longer doing that stuff. They've even moved away from it. So they feel the same way. But what are your thoughts on this?
You made a good point about it's hard enough trying to explain heterosexual birds and bees, as you know, they traditionally say, the birds and bees, trying to explain that to your kids, let alone an alternative lifestyle arrangement. So it's just a whole big mess with trying to put your foot into social justice, embracing the messaging and stuff, and trying to walk the tightrope on keeping your traditional values intact. So Snoop is speaking out of the vein of his legacy, his grandkids. He had his granddad hat on. And so you were correct when you said, I totally agree. He wasn't saying anything like, I'm tired of, you know, this is against the Bible. He had no message like that. He was just speaking as a grandfather, trying to just enjoy some precious time with his grandchild. He was just trying to, you know, have some quality time, and then that being interrupted with a barrage of questions. And you know how kids are. They will not let it go. So he didn't say anything against the agenda. He just said that I think they know that he's not thinking that way. They just need to be at the battle stations in order to try to shut down any industry tool, because that's what pretty much he has been, to say anything against the agenda. So they know this.
Right. And, you know, and to speak for me on my channel, you know, I'm a Christian and I have libertarian views. So I have a duality to this. You know, on one hand, I believe as the Bible teaches, but at the same time, as someone with libertarian views, I don't believe in the relationship police. I don't believe in the government getting involved and seeing what people do in their bedrooms. That's not my business.
True. Yeah.
But from my perspective, is like Snoop. He wasn't ready for this. And see, the thing is, let me give you an example. I'm an anime fan. Okay. And anime has a lot of that LGBTQ stuff, but they let you know up front. You know, you know what you're getting into, and they put it in content that's for a more mature audience. The issue that he's having, and a lot of us is having with this stuff, is that the parents don't know.
Right.
You know, they don't let you know. You're sitting in the theater watching your kid, and this is boom, here it is. And it's like, I didn't see that in the advertisement. I didn't see that in the trailers. Where is this coming from? And I think that's a lot of issue that people have, is that it caught them off guard. So now they got to answer questions that they did not anticipate answering or even have asked.
Right.
And that's what a lot of people are saying. It's like, you know, and I guess from his perspective, he would have said, well, heck, if this was going on, maybe I don't take my grandkid, or maybe I do take my grandkid, but I, you know, think about what answers I'm going to have for them.
Right.
And that's what people don't understand. He was caught off guard. He was shocked. And the thing is that he didn't get an opportunity to even decide what he wanted to do with the issue. They just put it on his plate and told him to figure it out.
They feel as if you're going to socially say that you support them, you're supposed to indoctrinate your family members and stuff. And so I guess I think they feel like you dropped the ball because you were down with, you know, same-sex kisses and stuff like that before, and that you're supposed to speak up for us no matter what. So if you're going to allow this in your past, then you should be using your platform or your star power to indoctrinate your kids. Like, what's wrong with you? You're supposed to be our foot soldiers. You're supposed to be an extension of what we are, the social justice warriors. So I feel like they're upset with him. They care nothing about him being a grandfather, him getting older, him realizing that he has a job to help raise his grandkids. He's having a jolt of conscience, and it's not sitting well with him. So I think that's why they're trying to shut him up. And he was punked out before with speaking out against Gayle King and Susan Rice, or not Susan Rice, but Gayle King, about Kobe's legacy, which is he's a family man. So they didn't like to see that side of him speaking up for the black male image. So again, I think they're coming against him like, oh no, you better shut up. You better get back in your cage, because, you know, you don't want the wrath to come your way yet again.
Yeah. And see, it's that all or nothing mindset that they have. And I, you know, it's like, if you're going to be over here with us, you have to champion all of our causes. And so you see people saying things like he's a sellout and all these other stuff, and they're calling him a punk and stuff like that. This whole idea that, you know, you're not black if you don't support the positions that a white liberal gives you.
But I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
Oh, yeah.
How the hell does that work?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's how they think.
What they don't understand is that 2025 is here now, and they're talking about canceling him, but what they don't get is that the majority of the country agrees with Snoop.
Exactly.
This woke era has come to a screeching halt. You're not going to cancel him. If anything, he's going to get more support and more popularity because he is in line with the mainstream. We talk about how the Democrat Party is losing because they have this 80-20 mindset. 80-20 being that they only support the ideas that only 20% of Americans believe in, but 80% are against. So they sound like, you know, and really they want to complain about him, but all of his critics look out of touch right now. They look like the extremists, and he looks like mainstream. So these calls to cancel him and say, nobody cares. Nobody's listening. You are the loud, irrelevant minority. Thank you for watching this chapter of the Layman's Journal. Please stand by for a preview of my latest video on Patreon. Layman's Journal, Chapter 263. One of my favorite movies of all time is Saving Private Ryan, not only because it's a fascinating tale of heroism, courage, sacrifice, and patriotism, but also because it teaches a valuable lesson on leadership. You see, the benefit of leadership is that you're in charge. You have subordinates, people placed under you that follow your command. But the curse of leadership is denial of self, meaning you have to be detached from your emotions. Because as a leader, you have to always have foresight and control. Regardless of how chaotic your environment is, you have to be devoid of emotion because you're also a role model. Subordinates look to you as a template for their behavior and will reflect your mannerisms. So if you're rattled, scared, or emotional, they'll be rattled, scared, and emotional. They'll lose confidence in you as their leader, as well as confidence in themselves. So as a commanding officer, you have to be the standard of stoicism. And Captain Miller in Saving Private Ryan is a great example of that. On one particular day, as he and his unit were marching through the French countryside, they came under attack. They won the battle, however, one of his subordinates, T4 Medic Wade, was gravely wounded. They tried their best to save him, but he died in their arms. And the thing that makes this scene so difficult to watch is the way he calls out to his mother shortly before passing. And as you can see, his unit mates are devastated. Some were in shock, while others flew into a fit of rage. And they began assaulting one of the German POWs. They believed that he was responsible for Medic Wade's death. So they lost composure and began acting like barbarians than soldiers. But not Captain Miller. He remained calm, stoic, and assertive, and right as they were about to execute the German soldier, he started barking orders, forcing them to stand down as he brought them back under his control. And at first glimpse, it appears as if he doesn't care, as if Medic Wade's death meant nothing to him. He was behaving like a cold and hardened warrior. But then he does something interesting. He wanders off. He goes about 50 yards away from his men, finds a bunker, takes a seat, and begins reading a map. Then he looks around to see if anyone is watching him, proceeds to crouch down in said bunker, and begins to sob uncontrollably. He begins to grieve the loss of Medic Wade. And he cried harder than all of his subordinates combined. Because Captain Miller, in spite of his rough exterior, is more than just a commanding officer. He's a father figure. He sees all of his men as his sons. So he didn't just lose a soldier on that fateful day, he lost a child. But the thing that amazes me about that scene is how he didn't allow his subordinates to see him crack, because he expressed his emotions in private. And it's not because he's introverted, overly self-conscious, or afraid to express himself. It's because he's their commanding officer. He's their leader. And as a leader, he has to exude masculine stoicism at all times, even at the toughest of times. He's got to maintain that masculine frame. Because if he shows any sign of vulnerability, if he turns into a sobbering mess, they'll lose confidence in him as their captain. And that's something you can't have on the battlefield. And I think the same concept applies to men and women in relationships. As a Christian, I believe that husbands are called to lead their wives, and wives are called to submit to their husbands. But I also believe in human nature, that men are more logical and women are more in tune with their emotions. And it's those opposite values that draw us together like magnets. However, if you reverse the polarity of a magnet, that same force that draws them together will draw them apart. And what I mean is, stoic men and emotional women are attracted to one another. But men don't like stoic women, and women don't like emotional men. Each finds the other unattractive, and thus they naturally repel. So in order to keep a woman's love, she has to have that same level of reverence and respect for you that a subordinate would his commanding officer. That means staying in your masculine mindset, not being loose with your emotions. Just like Captain Miller, you have to maintain your composure in the middle of chaos. Now, you can cry, you can express your emotions in private, but you can't be a blubbering mess in front of your girl. Which brings me to the topic of today's video, love and basketball. It's a story of two young athletes, Quincy, played by Omar Epps, and Monica, played by Sanaa Lathan. And in the beginning of their relationship, you've just seen a preview of my latest video, which you can watch now in its entirety, uncensored and without obstruction, exclusively on Patreon. Again, that's patreon.com/LaymansJournal. Hope to see you there. I'm out.